will explore these issues in greater depth, and as Aragon continues to learn and to grow. But I didn't make the book a specific allegory for any specific thing in the real world.
Okay. Do you think that by homeschooling you missed out on like a lot of the normal teenage high school life, all that?
Yeah, right.
Well, from what I've heard, I'm not sure I'm not sure if it's that bad of a thing to miss out on.
I don't know, because last year I had to be homeschooled because I was sick, and I couldn't go to school, and I missed out on all my friends and everything that goes along with it. I was just completely bummed out, just sitting at home and just learning, and it wasn't the same. Do you ever feel that you missed out on something?
Well, it's hard to miss something you've never experienced.
That's true.
On the other hand, yes, it was, I guess you could term it fairly lonely, especially considering that we live in a pretty remote area of Montana. If any of you have ever seen the movie A River Runs Through It with Robert Redford, that was filmed about 5 miles from my house.
Wow.
My sister and I did have some friends from the local homeschooling group in Livingston, Montana, and I still have some friends from that. But, growing up in an area where there's a lot of room to run outside, there's no television, there aren't too many people around, it forces you to come up with ways to entertain yourself. It's almost like when you read Tom Sawyer or something. Yeah, Tom Sawyer or something,
Can I have your passport, please?
You run up and down the river with a slingshot, you create games, you write stories. You find ways to entertain yourself.
Yeah.
Do you know Amy Carter?
It's possible, but the name's not ringing a bell right now.
The author of Phoenix Ashes?
Oh, no, I don't.
This summer, are you going to like a writers' convention or something?
I am. I'm going to be speaking at the writers' convention in Maui, which is pretty awesome.
Will you be giving autographs? I was just wondering.
I will sign anything people bring me.
Are you going to be in California anytime?
No.
How about Florida?
Unfortunately not. My schedule is listed on the official Aragon site, which is allegazia.com, and that's listed in the back of all the Aragon books.
If Amy gives you to ask you to sign something for Jared, will you do that for her?
Sure. If I'm there and she comes, and I'd be more than happy to.
Oh, did you meet J.K. Rowling by any chance?
No, I have a feeling that meeting J.K. Rowling is harder than meeting the Queen of England. But I would love to meet her sometime. I think it's great what she's done to encourage reading across the country.
I have one more question for you.
Sure.
I'm 16 right now, but I've been writing a book since I'm 13. But I've been changing the plot around like about 500 times. Do you have I finished the book and then I didn't like it and I wanted to start over, but I had writer's block. Do you have any advice for me here?
Oh man, going back and writing something back in a book or trying to fix something back in a book is one of the hardest things for me to do.
It's frustrating.
Personally, I cannot read Aragon. It is torture for me to read. I can't imagine a worse thing that I could do aside from getting a root canal without anesthesia. As far as the plot problems, I tried to write several stories before Aragon, and they all flatlined after about 5 or 6 pages, mainly because I didn't know what happened next. So
that's the problem I have.
Right. So before I started Aragon, I spent an entire month
plotting,
and I plotted out all of Aragon and the 2 sequels.
How did you do that? How do you plot your book?
Well, I go by a very simple rule. You start the story when your hero or heroine's life begins to change. If I'd started Aragon 2 weeks before he finds Saphira's egg, that wouldn't be very exciting. You're reading about him working on the farm and meeting his friends, and it's boring stuff. So you start the story when your hero's life starts to change.
No.
And then all you do is you ask, and then?
Yeah.
And then what? What then? What happens next? And that's all I did. I just kept asking, what then? What next? And that led me through the story.
Do you know
so
how
I've known since I started Aragon what the 3rd book was going to be about and how the whole trilogy was wrap up. And
How
knowing
is your
that
work
gives
going
you
with
a
Elder?
certain sense of security.
Right. Did you already talk about that, or how is your work going with Eldest?
Oh, it's going great. It's going wonderfully. Of course, there's days when I think it's absolutely horrible, but today isn't one of those days.
Excuse me.
Do you know about, maybe next year it's going to be out, or is there a date?
Yes. Eldest is scheduled to be in the bookstores in fall next year.
Excuse me real quick.
Is that fall of
actually, I have to say,
2004, Christopher?
Excuse me?
Fall of 2004?
2005.
Fall of 2005.
Yes, next year. So I have to say, they are publishing the book whether or not I actually have it finished.
That's right. So you're under some pressure.
That's right. Oh, I should mention earlier the question about whether or not we had television at home. Even though we didn't have reception and we did watch movies, that's not to say we didn't play video games. Actually, not video games, computer games. I have to admit, I am rather addicted to computer games.
I have a question about that.
Sure.
Okay, video games is grown so much because of your age. I'm 26, you're 20, so we both started right when Nintendo came out, and it's grown to such a mountain of a genre that I really feel like the Harry Potter games completely destroyed another market that could have been completely, fired from that thing. So has anybody approached you like Square Enix or EA about that? And if so, please choose the Final Fantasy staff from Squaresoft Enix, because I don't want your game to look like Drakengard or,
Right. Well, let's see. I have to be very, very careful here because I'm not sure how much I can actually say.
Squaresoft Enix, that's all you have to say.
But I can say that there has been some substantial interest in having a video game made for Aragon.
Yeah.
And I will have a large say in how that is shaped. And because I have grown up playing video games, I'll try and make sure that it's an interesting game.
Right.
What about a movie?
As I mentioned before, there is an Aragon movie scheduled to be released Christmas in 2005, assuming they can get it done in that time, which I think they've got a good chance of.
We are so looking forward to that.
Me too. I think it'll be a good movie.
One thing I thought you did very, very well is when Aragorn's mentor dies and is encased in the Crystal Palace or Crystal Spire on top of the mountain. I think you did a really good job in kind of closing off the door to all of the old ways Tolkien and the rest of them wrote and the generation before, and it kind of opened up to a whole new world that you did encapsulate. Because I've read so many books and they all seem repetitive, and I think that was just an amazing thing you did.
Thank you. I never thought of it quite in that manner, but I like the symbology.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Yes, please go ahead.
Thank you. Will you write any other books besides the Aragon series?
Yes, I actually have about 20 or 30 novels completely plotted out beyond the trilogy, which makes my agent very happy. So, and they're not just fantasy. There's also science fiction and mystery and thrillers and horrors and all sorts of interesting genres. So hopefully I'll get a chance to write them all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Christopher, the U.S. Census Bureau estimates that there will eventually be 60 million homeschoolers. But right now, homeschooling can still be controversial. I assume you must have had quite a bit of media coaching for your appearances at the David Letterman show and the Jay Leno show. Were you ever advised not to say that you were a homeschooler?
Never. It's never really been a point of controversy for me personally.
It has not been a big deal at all.
No, it's not been a big deal. Although, certainly it's people have found it very interesting. I found it was a bigger deal over in Britain because their school system is much stricter than ours, and very, very few people homeschool over there. So they found it quite an oddity. But no, I haven't run into any problems with it, and people have been very open and very understanding. Although sometimes I've had to explain that no, I didn't get a GED. It was, I did get a real diploma.
Can you give us a sneak peek into book 2? What's going to happen?
Oh, you know what? I'm going to quote my publicity material here. It can finally serve some use. Let's see. Eldest, Book 2 of the Inheritance Trilogy.